Hi everyone, this is Ashley with CTandRina Digitals. I'm going to do a tutorial to show you how to use my new wall mockups in Photoshop from my Etsy shop. I have a series of these that have not been released yet, but they are all used the same way, so I'm only going to do one tutorial for all of them. This is going to be from my Seaside collection. So each of my wall mock-up sets are going to come with 4 rooms. There'll be a bedroom, an entryway, a living space, and a nursery. And also all of my mock-ups will come with at least 4 different frames for you to use. I have 4 frames included in this one already open that I'm going to use because I'm going to do each room to show you guys. What you can also do, these are most useful for photographers for their, obviously for their websites, to display their images in a different way or a certain way. But also if you're an IPS photographer like me, I include wall mock-ups in my reveals and my showings for my clients all the time. It helps with sales and it helps them to be able to see how their pictures will look on a wall. So a lot of times if you're, say you're ordering from Miller's and you go to Miller's and you're using a specific frame from them, I a lot of the time screenshot the frame on the website and use that as my image to put on the wall mock-ups. But I like to include frames also for people that are just wanting to showcase it, how they, on their website just to show off their photos, but also you may sell frames that look similar to these ones, so that can be helpful that way as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start on the bedroom, and I have a picture of a couple that I think I'm going to use for this one. I might go back and forth with which frames I want to use. I think I'm going to try the round frame in this one. So I'm just going to go ahead. These are already transparent files. So I'm going to select all, edit in copy, and edit in paste into my background. First thing I want to do is check the light to make on the frame to make sure that the light is coming from the right direction, and then I want to center it. So a lot of different options for this. There's too much saturation on this frame compared to the photo for me, so I'm going to go ahead and add a hue saturation layer. If you don't have your hue saturation layer or your adjustments over here, you can just go up to Window and add adjustments over in your panel over here. Now I'm going to click this right here just so it applies to my frame and it doesn't affect the entire image. What you can do now, if you wanted to change the color of the frame, you could just slide the hue over here, and that is a way to change the color of the frame. But obviously I'm going to leave it on blue because that's what I'm working with, but I do want to desaturate this blue a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag my saturation layer down until the blues kind of match the blues in my photo. Okay, and then there's some really deep shadows over here, so I'm just going to grab my dodge tool on shadows, and I'm just going to get rid of some of them just because this is a brighter room, so I wouldn't have such harsh shadows. And then I'm going to go back in and I'm going to add just a little bit of contrast there. Now I did it in between my hue saturation and my frame layer, so it automatically adds that clipping mask. And then I'm going to grab a black brush at 100% opacity, and I'm just going to brush it off that part. I just want to add contrast back into that part that I used my dodge brush on. Okay, so now this is the part where you might need to go back and forth learning how to do this. It's obviously helpful to already know how to work with masks when you're doing this, but I'm going to click on my background layer, and you don't have to click on your background layer if you have other layers, but basically the layer below your frame, you want to add another layer. Now I'm going to go up to I'm going to use my circle marquee tool, elliptical tool, sorry, for this one and not the rectangle since it's a round frame. And as you can see, you can kind of drag this out. So, but I want a perfect circle, and in order to do that, I'm going to click my mouse. So you want to do this inside the frame, but we'll be able to move it, so that's okay. I'm going to click, I'm going to hold down Shift on my keyboard, and I'm going to drag out to where it seems like it's big enough to fill the hole, but not overlap it. And like I said, and you want to let go of your mouse before you let go of the Shift key. And then I'm gonna right click on the inside of here and go to fill. It does not matter what color you fill it with. I always just do white. And then you can deselect that. And then go ahead and grab this. Make sure that this box up here is checked when you're moving it around. That way you don't lose proportions of your circle. So I'm going to drag it so it is behind my frame, but make sure that it fills your frame. So you want it to be just, actually I'm going to go back. I'm not going to deselect it yet. I'm going to move it while it's selected so we can kind of see where it's ending up, see behind the frame. So as you can see the dotted line, it is behind the frame, but I don't want to make it like all the way out here because your image is going to fit within that white space. So you want to make it as close to the edge of the frame as you can without going on the inside of the frame. I'm going to click OK, and now I'm going to deselect. Okay, so now this is going to be your mask area for your photo. So I'm going to go ahead and create another layer. And then I can either hold down Alt on my keyboard and clip this to the circle there, or you can right click that layer and create clipping mask. And now this layer is where your photo is going to go. So we have the background layer. This is the circle that we just did. This is where we're going to put our photo, and this is our frame, and then our frame. I'm actually going to go ahead and merge these together just so that's done with. So this is where we're going to put our photo. So in order to do that, you're going to go up to File, Place Embedded, navigate to the folder with your photos in it if it's not already there, and I'm going to use a couple picture here. And then you go ahead and resize, and as you can see, it's only going to be in that area because that's where it's clipped. As you can see, like if you just do this, it's going to leave that area there. You need to fill the whole frame with that, or that's how it's going to be. Okay. And then if you need to make adjustments to the photo, you can add I want to brighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to do a curves layer. Make sure you click that clipping mask right here so it only applies to the photo. And I'm just going to bring that up. I'm also going to desaturate it just a little bit. Okay, so there's our photo in the frame. Now next you want to add your shadow to the frame. So I'm going to click on my frame layer. I'm going to go down to I always forget what these are called. It says it when your layer style. Okay. Go down to your layer styles and go to drop shadow. Make sure this is on multiply. I'm going to click on the color here, and it's going onto the wall. So I want to grab a shadow on this wall here. So I'm going to click down here, and I'm going to grab a shadow from something that's close to the frame. Click OK. And now you want to pay attention to the shadows in your image. Like these shadows are pretty spread out. So actually don't really play with spread very much. I put that all the way down. I make sure your angle, like say if we did it over here, that wouldn't be right because that would mean the light was coming from this way and it's coming from this side. So you just want to angle this right here to wherever the light is coming onto your wall. And then distance, like I said, just pay attention to the shadows in your image already. And then size-wise, this is a little more spread out. So I'm gonna, it's confusing because spread seems like it's what you need to use, but size is kind of how you can make it look more closer to what is in your image already. Distance. Just play around with this, and I'm going to lower the opacity on that. I just play around with it until it looks like it matches my shadows on the backdrop. The frame is not, like this stuff up here, these shadows are going to be a little bit less because this whole wall is white and most of the light is falling on that. So it's not going to be as much. Like, see, look at the shadows over here. Like, they're barely visible there. Okay, I think that looks good. I go back and forth a lot with adding shadows. Okay. So that one is done. If you want, you can go in, if the frame seems like too sharp, just simply click on the frame and grab your blur tool and just kind of blur the edge of that frame a bit so it blends in to the wall, just the very edge. I wouldn't touch the photo because obviously you want that to be your main focus. Okay, so I'm done with that one. I'm going to do the entryway next. I have frames that I could use for this one, but I want to show you as well. Like, I personally sell acrylics to my clients. So if you're just needing to do something like an acrylic, you don't need a frame at all for it. It's as simple as literally just going up to File, Place Embedded, or you could open your file and do copy and paste too. I think I'm just going to do a family picture here. Go ahead and resize. Put it wherever you want it on the photo, and then it would be as simple as just needing to add a drop shadow to it. And again, click on that, grab a shadow that's close to the photo, play around with your opacity and your distance and your size. And it's easy enough as that, just to add your photo as if it's like an acrylic. But if I wanted to do a frame, I can do that too. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to open this so I can show you a different way to do it, which I don't even recommend for unless you're doing the collage frame. Okay, I'm going to grab my natural wood frame here. Select all, edit, copy, and paste. Now, if you are, like, I have my proportions staying the same, but if you click on your boxes here and you unclick that, you can play around with the size of your frame. But be careful, because if you stretch it too far, it's not going to look right. So you just have to be careful with how far you stretch it. Light's coming from the wrong direction, actually. So I'm going to flip it. Frames are tough because it seems like the light is coming from, actually this frame is kind of, we're going to flip it vertically. Okay, there we go. That might have been how I already had it. These shadows right here indicate that there's light coming from this angle. I would just grab my dodge tool because it does kind of, this side isn't really bright enough. And then I would grab my burn tool to add in a little bit of shadows, more shadows to this side. Okay, and you might have to do that with some of the frames because obviously they're not made specifically for any specific image. I'm going to add a saturation layer, create that clipping mask. I'm just going to desaturate it a little bit to match this bench down here. Okay. Now create that mask again. So I'm going to create a layer below my frame. I'm going to merge my frame and my saturation layer real quick. Create a layer there. Grab my, this time it's a square frame, so my rectangular marquee tool. It's easier to do these ones than it is the circle. And then I'm going to zoom in for this. I'm going to grab right outside of the frame here. I want to get it as close to the edge as I can without coming in here or getting like right to the edge, because you don't want a white line separating your image. So that's good there. I'm going to right click inside and fill. It's already on white. Press OK. Like I said, it doesn't matter what color it is. And then I'm going to create another layer. Right click and create that clipping mask. And then go to, so this is where I was saying you can show you real quick. I'm going to delete that. Say I wanted to just copy and paste. If you select all, edit, copy, and paste into your image, so now you're having to deal with getting this inside of here and having to get rid of these edges. That's frustrating. It's better to do that if you have like a collage frame, since you have so many photos to put in, and I'll show you how to do that when we get to the collage frame. But this is really the easiest way to do this. So create that clipping mask again. And then place embedded, file, place embedded. Grab the family photo and resize. I didn't keep my proportions. I should have, but that's okay. Okay, family photos in there. I'm going to go to my frame. I'm going to add my drop shadow for my frame. The color and everything is still the same because I just did it a couple minutes ago for this photo. And that's it. Okay, moving on. Next. This is the living room. I'm going to use, this is where I think I'm going to do the collage frame. So I'll go ahead and grab that, select all, edit and copy, edit and paste. Oops. I want to keep my proportions, so I'm going to select that up there. And my shadows are falling over here, so I need to flip that. Okay, there we go. Just going to center it over the couch. You don't always want to center it in the center of the image, because that's not aesthetically like how you want the frame to look. I would center it like right above the couch, in the middle of the couch, not in the middle of the entire picture. Okay, and I can go ahead and add my drop shadow so I can get that out of the way. So the light is going to be coming from this side. I'm going to click on here and grab shadows from down here. Click OK. Oops. Click OK. Distance-wise and size-wise, I do not want this to be very much. That looks good. This is a very bright room, so you're gonna have some pretty thin spread out, or some pretty spread out faint shadows. Click OK. And now this is the one where if you want to copy and paste, you can, but it's still just easier to do the place embedded. If you ever need to make adjustments to an image that you need it to not be a smart object, you can just get rid of that. I'll show you how to do it. So this time I'm going to just click the background layer. I'm going to go up to File, Place Embedded, and I'm going to grab a photo. Keep my proportions there. I'm going to resize and just drag it behind. Now make sure if you do this, it's going to show up in this image. So you want to do this. If you have images that are going into a collage frame that has squares, it's going to be way easier for you to separately open up those images first in Photoshop and crop them to square before you even do this. Because if you, for instance, if I click on this background layer and I go to Place Embedded and I try to add like this photo, I'm going to run into issues with it bleeding over into other squares, which is annoying to have to deal with. Now, I could make it really small and fit it in there, and that could work, but a lot of the times that doesn't work. So it's just easier to crop them beforehand. But this one works, so I'm just going to leave it in there. So if you need this, so this is a smart object because we did file place embedded. You simply just have to right click and raster size layer if you're ever having an issue with adding adjustments or anything like that. Okay, so I'm going to keep clicking on the background because you want all these layers to be below your frame, obviously, because you don't want them to be on top. File place embedded, and I'm not going to add all the photos in just because I don't have that many planned out for this frame. I'm going to be reusing photos that I already used in some of the other sets, but it's just for tutorial purposes, so obviously you can use as many photos as you want. You just keep doing this until you had all your images placed in there. This is another one. This one should be okay though because she's small in there, but this is one that I would want to crop before trying to put it in there. But obviously you could fill every single one if you wanted to, but that's the easiest way to use and the fastest way to use the collage frame. Okay, moving on. Seaside Nursery. I'm going to just be doing one photo in here, and 2, 3, 4. I don't remember which frame I was going to use for this one. I'll just use the white frame. Go ahead and select all, edit and copy, edit and paste. Cut my proportions there. The frame needs flip because the light's coming from this side, so I'm just going to right click and flip horizontal. This one you can do, I'm going to do in the middle of the image because there's kind of a lot, like there's a lamp over here and some sailboat signs over here, so I'm going to keep it in the middle for this one. I can go ahead and add my shadow again first. Light's coming from this way, so we're going to change the angle. I'm going to click that and grab color shadow on the wall. And I'm going to up that opacity. I like the distance and the size already, so I'm going to leave that the same. Come down to my background layer, or I'm sorry, not always the background layer, but in this case background layer, just make sure it's below your frame. And then I'm going to grab my marquee tool. I'm going to drag just inside of it, and then right click and fill, and then add a new layer and create that clipping mask, and then go up to File and Place Embedded, and I'm going to use Maternity for this one. Resize, and done. That easy. Obviously I might like brighten up the photo or be prettier if it was like more of a daytime sunlight picture for this specific room, but that's it. It's simple. It's an easy way to add images to your website and showcase your work. If you are a studio photographer, I would love for you to join my group on Facebook. It is linked in the description.